Good morning, David. First thing on our list here was, find the electrical gremlin. Probably take us, shouldn't take us more than an hour to find what's turned it off. There's either going to be an open or a short. If it's a short, it's going to blow a fuse. It may be a wire that slipped off. That would be an open. It shouldn't take long to find that. If it's a short, then we've got to figure out which of the 5 items are that are on that same fuse is causing the fuse to blow. So we got to separate those systems and test them out one at a time. So that could take, no more than a half a day. The next item was reworking the bow stop. That's why I thought was number one until I started looking at my paper here. So the bow stop, we're going to remove this piece right here, remove all this mess. Then we want to shorten your winch, and we normally have the winch on this side of the post. And by the time we're going to put the arms up like I showed you on one of our trailers, and that would be reusing your existing post. And when we did the pricing, we realized, the only thing, we normally sell these for $1,500. The only thing we're not doing is not supplying you with a post. And I'll show you our contraption out here, because you may want to just go ahead and spend the extra $500 and do one of these posts. So on this red trailer, you'll notice we have our arms. Gives you a really nice wide target to hit. All right, we have the winch on the back side away from the boat. And then we also have this turnbuckle down here. It's actually a top link for a 3-point hitch. And what happens is when you pull your boat out, you've probably experienced it, that you're up against the bow stop. And when you pull the boat out, the angle of the trailer is down on the ramp. It's a down angle. And then of course your boat's floating level. So when you pull out, your boat invariably is 2 or 3 inches away from your bow stops that it was touching before you pulled it out. So we have this turnbuckle. The idea is you lean your stops back, you load your boat, and then you turn your turnbuckle and push your bow stop back up to the bow before you move. The alternative to that is to get going about 5 miles an hour in the parking lot, slamming your brakes on, which on a really nice trailer with a really nice boat just seems a little hokey. So anyway, so you might want to just go ahead and let us build you a whole new bow stop the way we normally do it, with the top link, so that you can adjust the bow stop to your boat once you have it loaded, and it makes it a little more secure. You might also, your winch strap looks a little old and tired and beat by the sun. So I'm guessing that you'd probably want to replace the strap on your winch. Okay, then the next item was changing the bilge pumps. If I'm not mistaken, you have 2 bilge pumps, and typically on like the Hackers, they stick the bilge pump really, I think, in the wrong spot. So we're going to make sure that your bilge pumps are in the proper location at the time that we replace them. We replace them with an 800 gallon per hour rule, and it has an integral switch. So the switches that are separate from the pumps can result in a situation where the switch starts to pump okay, but the pump can't pump the water down far enough to shut the switch off, and then you run your batteries down, and then of course that defeats the whole purpose. So the next one was repack your packing land. So that's an hour and a half job if we do it in place if we pull the shaft, it could be longer, but I think we can do it in place. Replace the stereo. We're looking at a Fusion Marine stereo, and we can with a Bluetooth, and we can install it right where your other stereo was. We want to repair your tambour door. Let me get up here. We want to repair your tambour door as well. Source and replace these wings for your windshield wings. We have a place that can cast those if we can't find used ones. If we find used ones, that we'll probably have to have them re-chromed to make them match the age of the chrome on your boat. The next item was lift your boat off the trailer with straps and paint the bottom. Actually, you've got quite a bit of paint missing from the entire bottom. So we're thinking that you probably want to, we priced it to repaint the entire bottom. Let's see, carpet the bunks. We would remove the bunks, replace the wood with new tree wood, and cover with a black trailer bunk carpet. That's about the same price as by the time I cut the old bunk carpet off, and pull out the staples, and then recarpet. We just start with new wood and throw the old stuff away. Varnishing the floor. So here we are. The floor has got some places where we've worn through the existing stain. It's also got some places, you see some screws right here. This may be before your time, but the floor, it's a plywood floor. Teak and holly, I guess, but it's a plywood, and that has delaminated where those screws are. So what we would do is, our plan is to remove the seats, because your floor comes all the way back to the back of this compartment right here. Remove the seats, remove the floor, strip the floor, repair the delaminating areas, sand it, stain it. We would do 8 coats of varnish, and then we would sand for flatness and come back with a final coat. That would do the front cockpit and the rear cockpit the same way. I see the cushions, that we've pulled the cushions out of here. We can make you this. Back in the 40s, they would have had a bench that remained in the boat like this one, and you would have had a cushion made out of this with this vinyl on it, or this leather, whichever it is. You would have had a cushion made from this, and that cushion would sit on top of your bench. And it was all matching vinyl. So, and I don't think this is leather. I think this is vinyl. I'm pretty sure it's vinyl. I'll look here more carefully. But that is, I didn't price that option, but you might want to do that. I'll see if I can find an example, a photo I can send you, an example of that. But we would pull your console out, pull your seats out, pull your floor out, do it right, put it back in. It'd be very difficult to work around all this stuff in the cockpit, and probably be priced about the same because of all the labor and trying to work in these corners and not screw anything else up around it. So around the seats and so forth. Then of course, and the last item is to repair the back side of the driver's side seat. Let's see if I can turn a light on while I'm videoing. No, I can't. But it's this area down here. We would just cut out that area while the seat's out, put it on a bench, cut that area out that's rotted, put new wood where it's rotted, and then, but it'd just be structural wood. And then we cover that whole thing, as we talked about, with a piece of trim. And then we would put trim on the passenger side as well. The other observation that we made is this varnish is failing up here. So while we'd have it out, we can overstain this with the darker stain to match this stain right here. We can overstain this and add some varnish to it on both sides, just to protect that. Because once this does fail completely and start peeling off, And then you got to strip it, and you have to take all your stuff off here. Let's see if I can see if it's leather. Oh, it feels like it's leather. I cannot tell for sure. I need more light. Yeah, that looks like leather there. This cushion that you lifted up the other day actually looked like vinyl to me. So we'll just verify everything. It may be that there's leather in some areas and vinyl in others. Like a pleather couch. All of the seating areas, when you buy furniture, you can buy one that's dummied down a little bit that has leather for the seating areas, and then an imitation leather that matches it for everything else, where it doesn't get wear. Repair the backside of the driver's seat. Yeah, and we observed a few things when looking at the bottom. My son noticed some rust around one of your looked like it was coming out of one of your rudder packing land bolts. But further investigation, it looks like maybe there's somebody stuck a steel washer in it, and that may be where the rust is. If we address that, we're not suggesting that we need to address it. But if you want it addressed, that tank's got to come out. Perhaps while the floor is out, we can get somebody down in there and address that and get the rusting, the offending fastener out of there. Either a rusted nut or a rusted washer, but probably not worth diving into. If we can't get to it, it's probably not worth diving into. That we didn't price that either, but just wanted to point it out to you. The other thing I would point out to you is over here on the there were some divots on this other side, and I know I had suggested maintenance coats on the sides. I didn't strongly suggest it, but what I'm noting here is you have a lot of, I don't know if you can see it in the video, you have a lot of brush marks, and so your varnish is reflecting light in lots of different directions instead of reflecting light like a mirror. I'll show you some of our varnish work. You might want to do maintenance coats on the sides, or a maintenance coat on the sides. That would be fairly inexpensive, and we can take those brush marks out. This blem over here actually seems to have been varnished over. So if we repair that one, you're going to end up with a very flat mirror finish where that repair is. And of course, then that repair is going to stick out for a different reason, because it's going to be very shiny and reflecting like a mirror. And you can see my hand. If you put a sharp edge up against the finish, the sharp edge looks kind of fuzzy, and I'll show you on our varnish what that looks like. And then we have this little divot back here. That should be no problem. We can get rid of that one. My point was, if we get rid of this, it's entirely possible that it might be better to leave it, because it's entirely possible you're gonna have this nice shiny spot right here, and if you don't do maintenance coats, then you're gonna have light reflecting lots of different directions everywhere but right here. I guess we could make sure that we put brush marks back in it when we cover it up. I can solve that. But again, I'm just suggesting maintenance coats. And that's about it for the project. I'll just send you the invoice, or not the invoice, the estimate, and you can take a look at add and subtract anything you want to add or subtract, and then we'll finalize the scope. And even, I say finalize it, we may discover other things. You may decide that you may think more about something and decide you don't want to do it. Oh, by the way, I did not forget your flag and your flagpole. They're on here. I don't know. Oh, I guess I sort of missed part of the page here. So yeah, replace the locking mechanism on your stern pole and replace your flag. Polish out the deep scratches out of your entire cutwater. So there's deep scratches right here, and you got deep scratches on the other side of the cutwater in the same location. But anyway, so we're going to polish those out. I can show you one that had scratches just like yours, and it's on a 1942 Hutchinson, built in New York. And I'll show you these scratches that we polished out of this one. Sounds like we've got an engine starting up. So this one had similar scratches, and we got a little oil from skin, a little skin oil there, but you can see that we have that taken care of. As far as varnish goes, here's our varnish without any. It's got a little dust on it, but no brush marks. And so if you look at the reflection of that, you should see straight lines when you're looking at the reflection of that, as opposed to seeing all of the ripples that you probably saw. I really can't tell what the screen's showing, but that you probably saw in that situation. So we can improve the appearance of your varnish quite a bit, which will improve the appearance of your boat quite a bit. Oh, my son added one more thing that he'd like to do, just wants to suggest to you. That would be your loading guide on the back. It's pretty wide because when you come through it, you got to be wide enough to get the widest part of your boat through. And so we thought perhaps move the mount inward, and then normally our loading guides have an angle to them, so that when you're in the water, the widest point of the boat will slide through the loading guide, because it'll be leaned out. I don't know if I can. It would be leaned out like this. There we go. Instead of standing straight up. And we can do that for you, and you can get rid of these bumpers when you go to load. Of course, I don't know. You may not. That may not bother you. You may want to just no more often than you load and unload. But if you think you're going to want to take it places, then I think that'd be a good upgrade, and it'd be pretty cheap. It'd be about half a day's work. So if you want to do that, let us know, and I'll put that on the estimate, and then you can remove it if you don't want to do it. All right, sir. Thank you for your time, and you'll be seeing an estimate in a few minutes.